More on the fight against ISIL, the battle for Sinjar, which we were just talking about, and the search for some type of political solution in Syria. We're joined by Theodore Kattouf, the former U.S. ambassador to Syria. Ambassador, welcome.
Thank you.
Let me begin with the Sinjar offensive. We saw what our reporter Roy had to say in his piece. It sounds like this is a pretty significant operation, especially if they manage to recapture Sinjar.
No, absolutely. As your reporter pointed out, it controls a key supply line between two major cities controlled by ISIL. So capturing Sinjar would be a real setback for ISIL and bolster the morale of the Kurdish fighters who are backed by U.S. air power. And presumably maybe some special forces advisors as well.
But Ambassador, why now? This humanitarian crisis in Sinjar that unfolded last summer, the height of it, you saw Yazidis, escaping with very little on their back. Why launch this type of operation now?
Well, I think it's just that the coalition forces weren't ready. Now the U.S. has been arming to some extent the Kurds. It's not talked about a lot because the Turks get very upset, the Turkish government, about arming certain Kurdish groups because they see them aligned with the separatist PKK group in Turkey itself under Mr. Öcalan. So the U.S. is working quietly with the Kurds and a coalition of Arabs because, again, it's sensitive in Arab areas. If the Kurds move into Arab areas, to recapture towns, they also need to have Arab tribal fighters along with them to show that it's a joint operation.
Let me move on to Syria and second round of negotiations, which will start in Vienna on Saturday. First of all, what do you make of them? What did you make of the first round of negotiations? The fact that Iran was invited, we don't know if Iran is going to go this time around, and also this peace proposal that Moscow is floating around. It does not really say much about the fate of Bashar al-Assad, which seems to be a key point for many Western countries, at least.
Right. Well, first of all, you're right. Iran's participation is important. You can't really get a settlement without Iran and Russia. They're major players, and you can try to wish Iran away, but it's there. So you have Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, Qatar, very important regional states around the table, along with the U.S., Russia, EU, United Nations. But the fact of the matter is that the Russians are not about to abandon Assad at this point, nor is Iran. Even if at some point later in time they'd be willing to sacrifice Assad in order to still keep the type of secular regime they want in power. They're not going to concede that right now. And
we're just learning also that Iran will be represented at the second round of negotiations. Right. We're running out of time, Ambassador, and I want to get to what we saw unfold in Beirut. Some 41 people dead, 200 injured. The attacks, 2 suicide attacks happening in a Shiite suburb, a Hezbollah stronghold. Are you worried, are you concerned at all that what's unfolding in Syria is going to spill over into Lebanon, because there's now a claim of responsibility from ISIL?
Well, it has spilled over into Lebanon. There have been Lebanese soldiers who were captured by Nusra Front and
once
ISIS.
Again.
Once again. And in all of 2013 through February 2014, there was 9 attacks on Hezbollah-controlled areas in Lebanon, similar to this. It is a part of the struggle in Syria because ISIS and radical Islamist groups want to punish Hezbollah and its supporters, because these are mostly civilians being killed, and say, you think you can fight us in Syria? We're going to fight you in Lebanon, and you're going to pay a price for this.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Ambassador Theodore Kattouf, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you.